Jai Hind, dear students. Welcome back to the English class. Today, I'm going to tell you about one of the poems of your English literature syllabus, Mending Wall. It's a poem written by the American poet Robert Frost. It was published in 1914 as the first entry in Frost's second book of poems, North of Boston. The poem is set in rural New England, where Frost lived at the time, and takes its impetus from the rhythms and rituals of life there. The poem describes how the speaker and his neighbor meet to rebuild a stone wall between their properties, a ritual repeated every spring. This ritual raises some important questions over the course of the poem, as the speaker considers the purpose of borders between people and the value of human work. Now, I'm going to tell you about the theme of the poem. At its heart, Mending Wall is a poem about borders, the work it takes to maintain them, and the way they shape human interactions. The speaker and the speaker's neighbor spend much of the poem rebuilding a wall that divides their properties. As they do so, they debate the function of the wall and how it affects the relationship. The speaker suggests that the wall is unnecessary, both practically and politically. In the speaker's mind, walls exclude people, injuring otherwise harmonious relationships. But the neighbor argues that walls actually improve relationships because they allow people to treat each other fairly and prevent conflict. The poem doesn't fall too heavily on either side of the debate, ultimately allowing readers to decide for themselves which vision of human community is most convincing. The speaker believes the wall isn't necessary, given the crops that the speaker and the neighbor grow, while cattle might wander over to graze in someone else's pasture. The speaker's apples aren't going to eat the neighbor's pine trees. More importantly, the speaker believes that walls actively damage people's relationships. This is because walls are likely to give offense, that is, to offend people with their implication of mistrust and exclusion. The speaker thus asks the neighbor why they need to continue repairing the wall at all. In response, the neighbor says simply and repeatedly, "Good fences make good neighbors." He believes that a good neighbor establishes clear boundaries and, in doing so, prevents problems from arising between people who live near each other. The neighbor seems haunted by the possibility of future conflicts. In fact, he seems to regard such conflicts as an inevitable part of life, and as such, that it's important to take steps to prevent them. For the speaker, there's no reason to engage in such preventative measures because there are no conflicts between him and his neighbor, not even the seeds of future conflict. Here, there are no cows, the speaker says, literally referencing the fact that there aren't any cattle around that need to be penned in, lest they graze on someone else's property, and also figuratively suggesting that the speaker and the neighbor have no reason to be especially possessive of their lands. They aren't competing for resources and should be able to live peacefully side by side. In this worldview, people are basically decent. It is building the wall itself that seems to the speaker most likely to cause conflict by creating a sense of us versus them and implying that the neighbors don't trust each other. The speaker and his neighbor thus disagree over an issue so fundamental to human society and political thinking. They debate whether conflicts between human beings are inevitable or whether those conflicts are the result of misguided cynicism about the possibility of peace between people. Yet, though the speaker gets the most airtime in the poem, it's not entirely clear that the reader is supposed to take the speaker's side. Instead, the poem itself remains decidedly ambiguous for all the speaker's complaints about the wall. The speaker is the one who sets the mending in motion by reaching out to the neighbor, and the poem even gives the neighbor the final word. The poem thus asks its reader to decide for themselves who is right and who is wrong, and to make up their minds about the utility of walls, borders, and other political and physical devices that divide people. Now, children, it's up to you how you think and which side you are going to take. Thank you and God bless.